It had been a day of excitement. Katie discovered that if you sleep over at Micah's, you'd better be ready to wake up early with the rooster. Orbie learned that eggs come from chickens, and they both found out that there are a lot of things to do on Micah's farm first thing in the morning. It was early spring. The three friends tugged on great big gumboots and jackets. Orbie wondered why they had to wear big rubbery gumboots when all the snow was gone. But he found out soon enough. One step out into the barnyard and the ground was soft and squishy with spring. In the barn, Spirit was happy to see the friends and nibble on the fresh hay Micah put in her stall. While Katie was patting Spirit, she noticed that Spirit looked rounded and fatter. And Micah explained that she looked like that because she was going to have a foal. Orbie wondered what that meant. And Micah threw his arms open and he explained it meant that she was going to have a baby. Baby horses are called foals. Katie looked at Spirit's wide tummy and couldn't imagine a whole horse being in there. Micah filled pails of feed. Each friend carried a pail out to the chicken coop. It was noisy in there, and when the friends walked in, they were surrounded in chicken in about 2 seconds. Katie giggled. And Micah told them to throw the feed for the chickens. They were very hungry. There were big chickens and little baby chicks. Micah told them it was the baby time of year for animals on the farm. Katie and Orbie thought that the little tiny chicks were cute. When they tossed the feed out over the chickens, they raced around, squawking and pecking the ground. One chicken pecked the tip of Orbie's toe and he jumped. And then so did the chicken. They all giggled as Orbie burbled that he might like to feed the chickens from the fence. Just as he threw the next handful of chicken feed, Spirit let out an awful noise from the barn. And Micah stood up straight. He told Katie and Orbie it was time, and he raced into the house to get his mom. Katie and Orbie raced behind him, but they didn't know what time it was. And as soon as they were inside, Micah grabbed some old towels and his mom called the veterinarian, the animal doctor. Katie began to cry because she thought that something awful was wrong with Spirit. Orbie gave her a big hug, but Micah's mom knelt down beside her and said it was something wonderful, not something awful. Katie wiped her tears away as she tried to understand what could be wonderful about a situation that made Spirit cry. Micah's mom leapt to her feet and hurried out the door calling, "It's time for the new baby." With that, Katie and Orbie looked at Micah, who smiled broadly. He told them that Spirit had been making the baby all winter. Soon they would have 2 horses. Katie squealed with delight and grabbed Micah. That was one of the most exciting things she'd ever heard. Katie and Orbie wanted to know how they could help. Micah told him that the vet said that the one really good way of helping was to keep out of the way. Spirit was going to have to work hard and to be a little uncomfortable, and it was best if only a few people tended to her. As soon as the foal is born, he told them, they could visit Spirit. At that moment, a Jeep rolled up in the driveway, and the vet leapt out and ran into the barn. Micah explained that the vet was going to help Spirit and make sure the baby was born safely. Micah, Katie, and Orbie sat in the house and did some puzzles and then played a game of checkers. Micah's mom came in a few times to tell them that Spirit was doing a fine job. Everyone took turns peeking out the window, but there was nothing to see except the barn in the sunlight. Katie wondered where the baby horse would live, and Micah told them that the foal would live with his mommy, Spirit, for a while. Orbie wondered how Spirit would carry her baby when she didn't really have any hands. Micah told them that a mommy horse didn't need to carry the baby. All of a sudden, Micah, Katie, and Orbie heard Micah's mom calling for them to come to the barn quick. Well, 3 people never jumped into their gumboots so fast. and in a pink blur, they were out the door. The barn was hot and steamy when the friends walked in. The vet smiled at them and signaled for them to be very quiet. They tiptoed over to Spirit's stall. Spirit was lying on the ground, and behind her was a little tiny pony. It looked more like legs than a horse. Spirit got up quickly and looked at her pony. The pony lifted its head and then untangled its legs and tried to stand up too. At first, it tumbled and landed on its nose, and then, although it was wobbly, the little pony stood up. Everybody was happy, but nobody shouted or cheered because it would be easy to scare the little pony. Right away, it stumbled over to its mom and nuzzled Spirit's underbelly. It was soon drinking its mother's milk. Katie thought it was very smart of the little foal to know where to go for a snack. The vet turned to Micah and asked what name he had chosen for the foal. And Micah smiled. He had a good one. The little foal would be named Sprite. Katie liked that the name was almost like its mommy's, and Orbie liked the sound of it. And Micah liked it because his mom told him Sprite meant a little elf. As the vet put all his equipment away, he told Micah that he thought Sprite was a perfect name for the new foal. I think Spirit liked it too because she whinnied and bobbed her head up and down. The friends spent a lot of time that day visiting Spirit and her baby, and I think that Spirit was happy to have him. Sprite seemed happy too as he finally figured out how his legs worked. It was a very exciting day. That night on the phone, Katie and Orbie told Mom and Dad all about the foal. The day Sprite was born was a very special day for them. And do you know, if you had been there, it would have been a very special day for you too.
Did you know? A great place to be on a windy day is a museum. I bet in your town you can find all kinds of museums. Art, science, nature, and children's museums. The best thing is, you never know what you're going to see. Wow!